My name's Abby Thomas, and welcome to this brand new series of the Women of Steel podcast. It's my mission to continue the legacy of our Women of Steel campaign. Just like my predecessor, Nia Singleton, did, I want to talk to all those trailblazers, leaders, scientists, engineers, my friends, and those women I look up to. The 11% of amazing women who exist in a male-dominated steel industry. I want to have some honest chats with them, debunk some myths and find out what it's really like to be a minority in a male-dominated space. But most importantly, I want to find out how and when are we going to make a change. Join me on this journey with our Women of Steel. In this episode, I chat to the amazing Eleanor Shorland, who is our Packaging, Recycling and Education Officer working at our Trostre site in South Wales. This is where we produce the tin plate for Heinz baked beans cans, deodorant bottles and biscuit tins that end up in our cupboards. And while Trostre does act as Eleanor's HQ, it's actually all over the UK where she gets to travel in her very unique role. Eleanor travels up and down the country visiting schools, universities and local organisations to promote the role of packaging recycling, the many careers and opportunities available at our steel sites, and most importantly, to get younger generations thinking about responsible consumption. Talking to Eleanor, you could swear she'd been with us for most of her career. However, it was actually in the communications department where I currently work, which is where she got her first taste of steel. From a beauty degree to being a stay-at-home mum, a part-time retail worker and later doing a business degree. How did this path lead to an internship at a local steel company? What was it like joining the corporate world as an intern in your 30s? Was it difficult to adjust and integrate? How did she balance this with her home life and what lessons did she learn along the way? Let's jump straight in and find out.
So we're on a steel site. I know there's also flora and fauna behind us, so you wouldn't expect it, would you? You've got the coal mill over there, hot mill over there. But we're actually where it all started for you.
Yes.
As a comms placement.
Yep.
And I did that too.
Yeah.
So, you've had your career journey really hasn't been typical, has it? Because you joined the corporate world later than, I guess, the traditional age, the usual age, whatever you want to call it. But where did it all start for you? Because your A-levels and sort of your first degree was very different to what you've actually ended up doing now.
Yeah, I think I've never really stuck to something. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, I guess, and it changed quite a lot growing up. So I did art for A-levels, and that's what I thought I wanted to do, something to do with art, advertising. I like creative stuff. But I just happened to go to a beauty therapy open day somewhere and got lots of treatments and it was lovely. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I decided I should be a beautician. And I qualified for that and then hated it. So yeah. But to be honest, not long after that anyway, I had my oldest son. So my career kind of took a pause anyway. And really it gave me a chance to think about what I really wanted to do and give me a chance to further qualify then.
Yeah. But you were quite young though, weren't you, when you had your first son?
Yeah, I think I was 22 when I had him.
And
so that's quite young.
Married
21.
Before?
Yeah. So it all happened a little bit quick.
Yeah.
And not really planned.
How was that though? Because I think that's the type of age where you're still figuring things out, and like you said, you had time to figure things out and have a think, right, what do I actually want to do? But that's also the time where all your friends will still be partying and maybe entering the corporate world or industry, whatever you want to do. How did you cope through that time?
I think you at the time nobody can tell you you're too young because you think you're old enough for everything. But people have children younger, and I think that's fine, and that's absolutely fine. It's just for me anyway, I was very much thought that I was the adult, but you're still developing in your early 20s. It was hard. It was going hard from no responsibilities to all the responsibilities in the world. I wouldn't change it now because I'm happy where I am, but it's a shock to the system being fairly young, having a child.
Did you have much support then?
Oh yeah, loads of support. My family were really good. Obviously I was married and, he was a really good husband, always has been a really good husband and father as well. He had a career, so I was supporting that, but then I had my mother to support me as well, so that was good.
Yeah, so how did you actually get into the business degree? Because that's what you did, right? After you had a little break, you thought, right, I've done my beauty qualification. You had your kids, and then you got into your business degree. So how did that come about? Why did you decide, right, business, that's what I want to do?
Well, actually, it was just an easy decision, because my first qualification was a HND, or a foundation degree, but there was a management element and there was a business element to it. So they were doing a top-up degree in Bridgend College, and I had enough modules from my initial qualification that I could just top up to the business degree. I always had an interest in business anyway, through the spa and beauty industry, but it was just an easy way for me to top up to get a full degree, which I always knew I wanted to do.
And what year did you finish that qualification?
I think it was 2018.
Right. And then it was, am I right in saying you finished in summer and then you were straight here then in Tartar Steel?
Yeah, I was really lucky. Yeah.
And that was for the communications placement, as we said. And we've both, so you're like my predecessor.
Yeah, I love that connection though. It's so good.
I love it. But it's funny really how you said, you've always had a creative mind, and that side of things always interests you. So I think really that role really suited you, didn't it?
Yeah, I definitely think that. To be honest, there wasn't many jobs that I'd looked at, and I saw that and I was like thinking, Tartar Steel is just such a renowned name in South Wales as an industry, as a company. I was like, what better place could I get some experience? And with a communications role, it is a more creative type of role, isn't it? So to be honest, I applied for it. I didn't think I'd get it, but obviously that was the start of everything then.
Why didn't you think you'd get it?
I think it's because I was older. A placement is generally for people who have just finished their degree. Although I had just finished my degree, but they're usually younger. I guess I thought they'd be looking for somebody younger. I think just lack of confidence generally. I think that can come from being a woman, but also being older, going into a corporate environment.
Yeah, I imagine it can be hard, because like you said, you were probably in the same intake as people who had just graduated. Like you said, you just graduated, but they might be 21, 22. Yeah. So I can imagine that it's difficult to adjust.
Yeah.
And I guess build your network and make friends as well. And yeah, I found with the role, like, I loved it, and I'm here today now. I was lucky to have been given the opportunity to stay on, like as happened with you eventually, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's just a wide and diverse role is probably the best word for it.
Definitely.
Because you get to dip your toes into so many different...
Yeah, well that's it. I experienced so much in that year that people who in other departments would never experience, because it opens you to lots of different departments, lots of areas. So yeah, it was a really good year.
But you said when you joined, obviously, and understandably, entering, I guess, the corporate world a little bit later than most, there was a bit of a lack of confidence there. How did you cope throughout the year? I tried to reassure myself, I'm older, so I have more, maybe more life experience that I can bring to it. I definitely think, obviously Nia was the manager at the time, and she was my mentor during that. I think she really helped me, because she was also a mother of young children. Her husband was a police officer as well, so she was very much in a similar position in life to me, but she had all this corporate experience, so I think she was really able to give me that little bit of confidence throughout the year. Yeah, I think that makes a difference, doesn't it?
Definitely.
A positive female mentor is one thing, but just a positive mentor, as it is, really, it really helps you come on, and just that reassurance, I think, because I think it's become a bit of a common theme now in the podcast. Self-doubt keeps on coming up. And I think, so April Wilkinson, who was the first guest on the podcast, she said, I find that when we look at graduates, they're so willing and capable and confident, but the last part, the confidence, it seems that it's not an issue for male graduates, but female graduates, they do sort of struggle to put themselves forward for things.
Yeah.
So I think that imposter syndrome that again keeps on coming up in the podcast, it does seem to be more prevalent in women, and I've just been trying to figure out why. Why is that?
I think a lot of it's to do with society, media and things like that. I'm not exactly sure why, but it seems to be women generally suffer more with confidence. I don't know, maybe they don't. Maybe they just show it more, they talk about it more, maybe. Boys do suffer with a lack of confidence, but they're less likely to talk about it.
Exactly, because there's more of a stigma, I guess, isn't there? But no, it's something that's important to me, I think, to talk about on this podcast, because it's something that I've struggled with.
Yeah.
So just, I don't know, it's not just getting to the bottom of it. Why do people struggle with confidence, particularly females? But, you know, just opening up and talking about it to show that, you know, everybody has self-doubt. April, for example, you know, she's in a senior position in senior management, and just her opening up about it really says something.
That makes a massive difference to people who are younger, because if you know, everyone learns to be more confident, I think, as they get older, or at least like fake it until they make it. But unless people open up about those struggles, then younger women are going to feel that they're not going to get there, or they feel that they're different and struggling with that lack of confidence, where they're not different, it's the majority, really.
Yeah, because it's easy to look at somebody really accomplished and think, oh, they've got it all.
Yeah.
How do they do it? When the truth is, nobody's perfect. Yeah. Everybody has their own struggles. It's just, you know, we need to talk about it, like you said.
And like even senior management, I would say that they probably struggle in certain situations. Even now, all through their career, all that they've accomplished, they still get nervous about something.
Exactly. Yeah. But going back to, I guess, confidence and capability, we'd obviously, you know, left an impression on you when you'd grown throughout the year, because you then went on to another comms position, didn't you, in the South Wales Police, was it?
Oh, I wasn't comms. I wasn't comms. I was desperate to stay here. I'd met some really good people.
Yeah.
I met my manager now, Nicola, and she was a really positive influence on me as well. And I was desperate to find something. There was just nothing available at the time. So I just went to find anything.
So what did you do?
Recruitment. Yeah.
But I guess there's some overlap, really, isn't there?
Yeah, and there was a lot of communication type things. You've got to be a good communicator if you're recruiting people and things. So it was a fill-in at the time. It did what it needed to do for me for a couple of years.
So it was your aim to come back then, by the sounds of it?
Well, I didn't. When I left, I was so sad, and I felt it's a bit of a sob story, but I felt like I didn't think that I'd ever be able to come back, because the comms roles are really few and far between. That was what I really enjoyed. I was thinking, there's nothing ever going to come up that I'll be able to do. So I didn't really. It was very surreal when I did come back, because I didn't think that would come about.
Do you know what I find interesting though as well is that you've joined two quite traditionally male-dominated industries, not just steel but police. You did a 180 to what you wanted to do at the beginning.
There's definitely no glitter in the steel industry.
But like what I love as well now is, obviously, I don't want to butcher your job title.
Packaging, recycling, education officer. You'd be surprised how many times I butcher it.
Thing is, I know I'll say it perfectly when I'm explaining to people. I'm saying this is what Eleanor does and she's amazing. I'd get it perfect, but on the podcast I just butcher it. I know I would, so I'd rather you say it. But your job is just so niche and like just really important as well, because going back to April's episode, April said, it was by chance really that she decided to join the steel industry. A lecturer had mentioned studying metallurgy.
Okay.
Metallurgy.
Yeah.
Another word I can't say. And she just decided to join because, she was guaranteed a job. At the end of it, that's why she wanted to join. She was told, if you join this industry as a woman, you are going to get a job. But without having, a sort of someone to stand up in university schools and whatever to represent STEM industries, then how are we going to get the message across and sort of let young people know, and women particularly, anybody of a minority, that you are welcome here. So your job in schools across the country is really important, and I just want to know what's the response that you get, because it's it's a range of ages really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the schools generally are just happy that I'm a female in STEM. They don't actually care what I do, generally, especially with the younger ones. Like the younger kids will always think I actually physically make the steel myself. But generally the teachers are happy because it's a female representation in a male-dominated industry.
So for the podcast, it's probably worth telling people just what you do on the day-to-day.
So generally, one of the main focus is to educate people about steel packaging recycling, the benefits of steel as it is a metal, and sometimes we have, in certain situations in my role, we do have to say metal rather than steel, and that's where I come unstuck. But just the benefits of steel packaging, long shelf life, that kind of thing. the infinite recyclability of steel, and I tend to dip into some of the really good things that we're doing as a company. I think a lot of the times they expect that we don't do anything good. They like to pick on the bad things, but I like to reinforce the good things that we're doing. Not that we're not perfect and we've got a long way to go, but they do like to hear the positive things as well. So it's mainly, encouraging children to recycle. Hopefully, they're easier to teach than adults. They'll take the messages home with them and tell their parents. And then hopefully the bigger picture then is that recycling rates will increase. And people will participate in their curbside collection.
Yeah, because we're all part of the journey, aren't we? And
Yeah.
I think actually, so you wrote a LinkedIn blog for us the other day, didn't you? And you said that, kids are so much more environmentally conscious than we realise. We know Gen Z, I hate calling myself Gen Z, but that's what I am. Everyone says, Gen Z cares about the environment, they care about this. Yeah, but what about our primary school children?
Yeah.
And they're actually way more aware than we realise, aren't they?
Yeah, and they are very much more conscious than adults are, and you find it gets harder and harder as they get into their teenage years as well. They're less likely to show they care, perhaps. When they're younger, they're desperate for a nice environment and they don't want to hurt those animals, and they want to protect their environment as well.
Yeah, that's all good though, but because I know that you went to a summer festival the other day, didn't you, in Ponte de Lice, and there was lots of collaboration. So you actually, I think the police were there, weren't they? I forget what
stepped
region.
In.
Was it South Wales?
I think it might be Gwent, maybe.
Gwent.
Oh, actually, they could be South Wales if it's Swansea.
Yeah, and was it Swansea Community Farm as well?
Yep.
So you had this festival where I think schools from Ponte de Lice came down, and there were lots of animals there, and you were there telling everybody about the benefits of steel packaging, and it was like a real community event by the looks of it. But the kids looked like they had lots of fun. They were trying on like PPE.
Yeah.
They were dressed in a top steel PPE. It looked amazing.
I think on paper it can sound really boring. Some steel recycling, it can sound boring, but you've just got to make it fun and engaging for them. And they're easily engaged at that age. So it's nice. It's a positive experience.
Yeah. It sounds like you love what you do. And I think, does having 3 children help as well?
Yeah, I think so. It helps you realise what level you can get them at, and I can test things with them as well.
And they're interested too, aren't they? Because they've starred in quite a few videos that you put on socials.
Yeah.
So I feel like they're all clued up. They know all the facts about steel recycling.
Yeah. Whenever they moan about doing the recycling at home, I'm like, come on, that's my job. You need to help me out.
Paying the bills here. Come on. So what would you say then? We're going back a few years now. So say 21-year-old Eleanor, she's just been married, child on the way, maybe she doesn't know yet. But somebody at that age, they could be in a similar position, but they don't really know what career path they're going to take. What would you say to them? Any words of encouragement or wisdom?
Yeah, I would just say try anything, do anything, because anything can give you experience, create contacts, networking. I think give anything a shot. I think if you don't try something, you're not going to know whether you like it or not, and it can give you ideas of what you might be interested in. So I'd say, give anything a shot, fake it till you make it, pretend that you're confident until you are.
Yeah, like you said, I think it comes with age. Because I'm almost 25, but even 4 years ago I was 21 joining this industry, and when I look at myself now compared to then, you don't realise how much you've grown in such a short space of time. And it does come with networking and put yourself in sometimes scary situations.
And I think a comms role is one of those throw you in the deep end kind of things. That's what comms did for me. They threw me in the deep end. You have to get out of your comfort zone, and I think that's why you develop so quickly, is because you have to.
And I don't think that many, every industry has to have a comms team, but I think the job you're doing now and the job you did before as the placement, it's just not something you'd expect from the steel industry.
Yeah.
Like what you're doing now is so cool and niche.
Yeah.
Like I don't think many other companies would have you.
No, and that's I think why it's important that sometimes a part of my role I go to careers events as well. Yeah. Sometimes they're starting to make it big in primary schools now, that having people in with industries, and I think it's good because, like you say, let people realise the types of different roles in an industry. People will just think of steel making when they think of the steel industry, and all the hard labour type jobs. One child asked me last week, I asked them, what type of jobs can you think of in the steel industry, and they said office. and that was as general as they couldn't think of anything more specific than office. So it's nice to open their eyes to what else is available. But also I'm kind of part of the waste management industry as well, and that's also a male dominated industry. Yes. So it can cross over with both. So I think it is good for them to see all the different types of jobs, and because I've been in 2 jobs in Tata, I can tell them about both.
Exactly. You've got you've seen everything really, haven't you?
Yeah.
So we're backtracking a bit, but I know you do adult workshops as well. What's the reception like to those? Because you've done a few internally. Have you done any externally yet?
Let me think. I've done some older teens. I think they've been internal so far. It has always been part of the plan to expand to different age groups. I just generally think adults are harder to work with. They're less enthusiastic naturally. I don't want to diss adults, but they just generally are. They've got other things they want to do. They want to be doing. Time is precious. So I think it's harder to engage adults. But the ones I did internally went quite well.
Yeah, because people can get stuck in their habits. But I know that everybody's making a conscious effort on site here to be better. So you wouldn't think that this site is home to loads of rare species, and everybody's been working quite hard to protect them. So we've been growing, the grass.
I love that.
Yeah,
so good.
You wouldn't believe, so there's an SSSI, so it's right. I'm going to get this wrong now. Scientific Site of Special Interest.
Wow.
I don't know if that's the right way around.
Sounds good anyway.
It does. But there's all different types of foxes and invertebrates, and everybody's chipping in to protect species like that. We've done the same in Shorten. So everybody's pulling their weight, but I think I do know what you mean. It's more difficult with adults, isn't it, to get them engaged? I think it is just because people get stuck in a habit.
It's not so much that. I suppose that sounded bad. What I mean is, it's trying to find the time they can have. Once they're there, it's fine. It's just harder to get that time, which is understandable, and more so externally as well. I think internally they'll be more open to it because it's of value to them. It's knowledge that that's within the company. It's just harder to find those groups outside.
Well, I think, Eleanor, you're an example, right, of someone. You just show that we can change our mind at any stage in life. I feel like you've lived 1,000 lives already, but I love you for it. And so I think I mentioned this. I was talking to somebody the other day, and again, something else I will butcher, but there's this poem by Sylvia Plath.
Okay, you're going to give me a poem?
Yeah, I'm going to recite a poem to you now. But it's basically about, there's this fig tree, and it's a metaphor for life, very deep. But there's this fig tree, and there's all these different figs on there, and the figs just represent different parts in her life.
Okay.
She's like, okay, I'd like to be a doctor, but I'd also like to be a journalist, but I'd also like to be an engineer. Which one do I pick? And she's so overwhelming. She's like, I want all of the figs, but there's no way I can have all the figs. But you are an example of someone, who's tried and tested things.
Got a couple of figs.
You've had a few figs in your time. But you just show it's fine to change your mind, and you can start your career at any point in your life. It's not late. You're still really young, but it doesn't matter how long it takes you to get you where you want to be. Or
I think and I think that's a pressure that's put on young people as well 100%. To pick a career and stick with it. That's not life, is it? Interests change and things like that. And I think that's what's great about a company like Tata Steel is I could be in this role now for a few years or whatever, but there's so many other options, and you don't have to. You can pick up the skills to transfer them into other roles, and that's why I think my advice earlier was try something, because you pick up the skills for something else.
And I think that's why so many people stay for so long.
Yeah, that's so true.
As we call them, people who've been here for 30, 40 years. The reason why they've been here is they've been presented with so many opportunities.
Yeah.
Like you said, they've moved around different sites. They've worked in all different areas and functions, and that's not common, really, is it?
No, not outside, is it? Inside you're here now, you can be open to so many different environments, types of jobs, different types of people, and I think you wouldn't get that. You couldn't jump around outside, but you can pick up the skills inside to be able to move around and learn new things as well. I think that's a positive thing.
So what do you see the future looking like for you then?
Oh my gosh, I'd never like to say. I have no idea. I'm really enjoying what I'm doing. It's very I like to be engaged with people. there's still an aspect of communications that I do, and it's varied as well, so I'm enjoying what I'm doing at the moment.
We need to give you a shout out as well to all your socials. We'll put them in the description of the episode. Recycle Without.
They're not as good as your socials.
Oh god, I love it.
It's always great chatting to Eleanor. Eleanor went from the world of beauty to being a full-time mum looking after 3 kids, going from no responsibilities to all the responsibilities in the world, in her words, and then eventually ended up in steel. She quite literally entered a traditionally feminine sphere and later plunged into a traditionally male one. It was really interesting to hear how Eleanor's placement helped her grow in confidence, not just by result of being exposed to so many different paths of and people across the business, but also having a fantastic female mentor, Nia, who had faith in her. I can vouch for all of this. As a rather indecisive individual, I do really resonate with Eleanor. And that's not to say that she couldn't make up her mind. Eleanor chased her ambitions while up against the odds, and really does serve as a reminder that it's okay to change our minds and grow. With time, confidence grows and as does experience, and it's just fantastic to see where Eleanor is now, doing a very public-facing and sometimes performative role, bestowing her wisdom onto prospective steel leaders, scientists, engineers, maybe even future comms experts. I just want to thank Eleanor for being an excellent guest, and I can't wait to have another amazing conversation with a woman of steel next week.